everyone. Happy evening. Welcome to our Beta 1 update and MJ Q&A. Can everyone hear okay? Yeah, you're pretty hyped tonight, aren't you guys? Yes. Okay. You can hear okay? Yes, you hear. Okay. I'll turn it over to MJ and the moment you've been waiting for.
Good evening, all. So, to begin with, anything I say tonight is subject to the I haven't slept in 2 days rule. Okay? And I mean, guys, I got zero last night. Whatever's going around the office, if you saw our cameras today, we're down multiple programmers, 3 programmers who aren't in the office. Sandra wasn't feeling well. I couldn't sleep. So, yeah, we're getting hit, of course, by that flu and or allergy thing. I mean, we lost Andrew for 2.5 days because of allergies. So, if I say anything that sounds incredibly stupid, as opposed to just, oh, it's just me stupid, understand that that's the excuse. Though I think its reason would be better. So, first, we are still in crunch mode. I'm still here. Some of the programmers are here. Ben's still here. Hi, Ben.
Hi.
Tyler's still here. And obviously, Genesee is still here. So we are crunching away. That's the good and bad news, of course. The bad news that, hey, we're still crunching. However, a lot of stuff is going in. An awful lot of stuff. How many abilities, Ben, do you think you have in now?
Many.
Okay, many. You heard that, many. Yeah, and we are just going through them. So, the reason there's no bigger announcement tonight is because people were out and we got to get some info from the guys who are out as to when some things are going to be completed. But we are so much closer to the end of Alpha than we are to the beginning of Alpha. There's no comparison. We got some great work done over the last couple days. We hope, the majority of problems that occurred in the last test in terms of those direct 3D errors. Tyler's been doing and the artists have been doing yeoman's work on getting all the materials, the new materials set up, so things are starting to look even better than you folks have already seen. Like I said, Ben is going crazy through all the abilities. We told you guys, we have a lot of abilities. It's all components. So the math on it is really interesting in terms of how many things we have to get in for beta, for the opening of beta. So, that's moving along swimmingly. Boy, what else? Crafting. I know there's a bunch of you right now in the game crafting away on your pretend voxes. And so that's moving along. The UI is starting to be worked on, the basic UI, even for the Vox. And we're going to have some art from the team it's all placeholder Vox art, but that will be in. It looks like before the opening of Beta 1, which is great. I wasn't even expecting that. What else? Oh, the other good news front. We have 3 programmer tests that we are, or Andrew, I should say. Can't say we because he won't let me read them because I don't have anything really useful to contribute. But we have 3 programmer tests that Andrew is going through. So that's good. And we've got another one coming as well. So, we're getting more traction there, which I know since obviously we had the stretch goal and we've been saying, forever, that we've been having a hard time finding talented programmers. So that's going great. What else? You saw our pretty funny ballista at the end of last week. Dave has been working on that. Mark's actually got crafting working with the ballista. So I was actually spending a lot of my time today working on some new spreadsheets. So that you are actually going to be crafting ballista bolts in the opening of Beta 1. What else? Well, just a lot of stuff. It is just a lot of stuff. And so far, no giant red flags. So it's just getting stuff in and getting it polished. And by polished, I mean all working would be a good start. And with all the abilities we have, that's taking a little bit of time. But it's all good, folks. It's really all good. And hopefully, I don't know if we'll make it this week, but certainly next week we want to open it up to get some more testing, really see if it's ready, if a lot of things are ready, not everything, of course. And, you know, at that point, we'll give you a very, you know, firm dateline. Again, it's so far, you know, keep fingers and toes and everything you can crossed. We have not hit any, oh my God, roadblock. It's going to be another 6 months, anything like that. It won't be. It won't even be, yeah, it won't be anywhere near there. Don't worry. And because tonight is going to be a little less exciting than some of you thought, but that's why I said update, obviously, and not an opening announcement about opening a beta. I thought I'd hang around here if you guys want to ask some questions about our Siege system, or you'd like me to talk about that. Because actually, I spent a lot of time working on that today, and some as well yesterday, and a little bit the day before. So I've got a lot more to share with you if you're interested. If you're not, you know, we can talk Q&A. But everything is good. I mean, we are all working hard and obviously getting tired, but stuff is going in and the game is developing at a rapid pace. And we are very happy. So, that's it. Let Genesee know in the chat if you want to just have general Q&A, or I can talk about Siege for a little bit.
Oh, I want you to go get some sleep. They're asking when you say open it up, do you mean to alpha or to beta?
Our usual pattern, IT, alpha, beta. I mean, we've had it closed to alpha longer than we wanted to because of some of those direct D3D errors. You know, with the rate those were happening, we didn't want you alpha folks even in it. So that's why it's been closed either to nobody except CSE folks or just IT folks. But George did a really good job on tracking those down. I don't know what the status is right now. I know he found 3 of the 4 that he was trying to find.
It's overwhelmingly Siege. Reactor says he just sieged his pants.
Okay, Siege. All right, so let's talk Siege. Siege in most MMOs is most MMOs that have it, of course, is fairly basic. I mean, we all know, well, we shouldn't say we all know. We can all know, if we want, what medieval siege engines were like, what the Greek siege engines were like, the Roman, etc. And we can do that, and we are going to do that. Don't worry about that. But we also want to take it to another level. A little bit BSC? Absolutely. Because frankly, we've been saying right from the beginning, large-scale battles. Now, since we've been also saying, you know, we're not big fans of the whole keep trading Zerg thing, that the large-scale battles we were referring to was not only the expected battles out in the open world, but battles around keeps and castles and other places of power. And the key for us, and at least the key for me as I'm laying out the, you know, initial design for the system, is to try to take what went on in the real world, but take it to the next level. Don't just think about trebuchets. Don't just think about catapults, though of course catapults isn't the right word because a catapult is a grouping of different weapons. Just don't do that because that's boring. You know, you guys don't want to just be sitting there pushing a button, right? Boy, this is exciting. Hey, we're having a good time, right? Hey. So what I'm trying to do, and this is something that Ben, you know, is certainly spending a lot of time on with the class system, is the whole idea of counterplay. Think of it as reactives for the siege system. And how do you do that? You know, how do you design a siege system which is more interesting than just hurling rocks at somebody? Though if you hit them right and they crush it and they kind of go to bony, bloody pieces, that's kind of cool. But that's not going to be the focus of the game, or at least the sieges. The sieges are going to be about play, counterplay. It's going to be about, yeah, you got to kind of choose when you build your castle, you build your keep, you build whatever it is that you want to protect. It's about choices. Yeah, what a shock, right? Here is MJ saying, "Oh, it's about choices," but it is about choices. And so when you're laying out your castle, and when you're laying out your both automated and human-run defenses, you can't have everything. You can't have the best of everything. You won't be able to say, well, I want all of these siege engines. I want them all. I want everything that could possibly be gotten for a defense. You won't be able to. You won't have the power to run them. And that brings up another point. What's going to happen, because I know you guys are going to ask me if I don't say something, what's going to happen when you're not online? Well, that's part of how we have to think about this a little bit differently. Certainly, you can look at it in the same way most games have, including games like Dark Age of Camelot, right? Where you can have guards. Yeah, we all know that guards either are too dumb, too weak, or too OP, and it's not a lot of fun. It becomes, as Ben would, when Ben and I were talking about it today, it becomes kind of boring PvE against, not terribly exciting or not terribly exciting PvE. But if we throw a few curveballs into it, if we introduce magic in a way that really makes sense, if we take the idea of, again, play, counterplay, so there are systems that you could have for defense, but also can be countered by systems that the players have on offense. And then those systems can be countered by other systems that you have on defense. But there's a limit. Again, there's a limit to what you're going to be able to carry into battle, of course, and there's going to be a limit to what you're going to have on your keep. And if you want more of your power to go towards automated defenses, that's great. That will serve you well when you're not there. But when you are there, because we don't want it to be, oh boy, nobody can sink the Bismarck because it's just way too powerful, it won't work that way. You won't be able to use all your players. If you're a guild, you won't be able to get your guild online and be able to use all their power and also hope to defend your guild hall with all the guild hall's power, because that wouldn't play well. I mean, you could try, and of course you folks probably know what will happen if you do something like that: veil storms. So that's a very, very quick overview. For a little more detail, the systems we're looking at, again, are initially based on what you can find by going to any of the great sites out there that talk about medieval weapons. It won't just be catapults. It just won't be trebuchets. It won't be just ballistas. It'll be some other interesting ones. I won't spoil the surprise. If you haven't done any research on medieval siegecraft, you should check it out. But that's only, again, the beginning. We want to have a very, very robust siege system, because that is part of what is going to make this game sticky. It's going to be what's going to make this game, well, with blood, of course, but, also sticky in the sense that you guys are going to want to stick around longer, because the battles will be different. It won't be the same every time you go after a keep, because the keeps won't have all the same defenses, and you'll have to use different strategies to take them down, and not just setting your alarm clock for 4 in the morning. You will have to, play smart, which is the whole essence of this game. I mean, if you look at one of the things certainly we're trying to do is we're taking the standard button rotation out, right? We all know that. We've been talking about that before the Kickstarter. Same with siege engines. Same with, anything that is critical to this game's success. We want to make it more interesting. We want to make it a little more challenging. And that's what we're going to do with the siege systems. I just finished some horrible X-Programmer art, which one day when we put up more of our flops, mistakes, and errors, I'll actually put up, the concept piece. It's really bad. That I want, Michelle and Sandra to, look at so we can have something to show you folks in terms of what is in at least my head to start with what a siege of a big keep should look like. So you'll see that not anytime in the next 24 hours, but you'll certainly see that in the coming weeks. And I'll give you a pretty good idea of the kind of systems, the kind of fun, the kind of challenge you folks are going to have. And I guarantee you there's a couple surprises in there. So, quick overview on sieges. Ask away. Q&A until either I fall asleep or 10 o'clock, whichever comes first. So ask good questions if you want me to stay awake.
Okay, you guys asked a flurry at the very beginning, and then the explanation came, so re-ask those questions again. Will Veilstorms summon abominations like in the stories by Logan Moss?
I would like that to. I would like that to happen. Some of the lore, of course, is meant just to be lore. It's not meant to be something that will be used in the game. But something like bringing in abominations, something like even not forcing people to change permanently, because that would be kind of mean. But having effects on people on all sides is absolutely possible. But abominations kind of make a lot of sense because that's what happened, in the stories.
Arbicus wants to know, have you any more details on siege shields to share with us?
Sure. So that's one of the areas we want to be a little bit more interesting. We've been talking about, you folks remember during the Kickstarter, how I want us to be able to put up various shields and be reinforced by players. So that's a given. I mean, that's important. It's the idea, of course, that if you can be there to defend your castle, or your guild can be there to defend, their hall, then they'll have a better chance of being able to defend it, because they can repower the systems. They can use their own magic, their own abilities to keep the shields up longer. It makes it, much more interesting. And of course, because, again, choices, you're using your power to keep the shield up, instead of maybe using your power to try to knock out some enemies or knock out their siege engines. And it's a trade-off. Maybe you've got reinforcements coming, and so you'd rather put all your energy into keeping the shields up. In terms of how they'll be different, don't think of our shields as just giant balls, surrounding, the Starship Enterprise. Don't think of it anything that simply. And obviously, for those who played Starfleet Battles, of course, that wasn't true, because they had shields, that they broke down into different sides and stuff. So be thinking of it more that way, more challenging again, more interesting. Not just giant ball, oh boy, hey, we're pushing those buttons again, and we're hitting now our siege engine rotation, and we've been doing this for 50 minutes, and, if we do it for another 50, the shield will come down. Not looking to make it that unchallenging.
Semelin asks, will we get something like Aristotle's Death Ray along with sneaking into keeps and siege ladders?
Maybe. Certainly the picture that, it's not even the right word, how about scribbling, that I did, actually has a siege ladder with a snake crawling up the ladder to get to the defenders on the keep. That'd be kind of cool.
Oldavik asks, in many games, siege weapons are overpowered when targeted against players. Will you be doing something to avoid the arrow cart problems of Guild Wars 2?
Yeah, great question. Yes. So, first, as we all know, you can, dodge in this game is not, hitting a button and then going into a roll wearing a ton of armor. You'll be able to dodge these things. They're going to move very slowly. You can't be targeted by them in the traditional sense. On the other hand, some of these, depending on how your crafters create, the bolts, or they create the stones, or they create the magical effects, some could have an AoE attached to them, so you can be damaged by them. In terms of them being OP, like in certain other games, well, again, that's a matter of balance. We know that it's really important that sieges are fun. Sieges can't just be, hey, you roll again up the carts, and all of a sudden everyone, 5 minutes later, everyone within the castle, or on the walls is dead. That's not what we want to do. And if you can't see the spreadsheet that I'm doing, but it's not yet at least, but it's all about, or part of it has to do with that as well. That these big ballista bolts, and they come in different sizes, of course, like they did in the real world, or do in the real world. They're not great against people. Sure, you could accidentally be standing in front of one, and that wouldn't be a good result. But they're not meant to be, anti-personnel weapons. Just like some of them weren't in the real world. If you happen to hit somebody with them, fantastic. But they weren't. Most of them weren't meant to take out people. They were meant to take out, walls. They were meant to take out the defenses, things that couldn't move out of the way when they fly. But if you got hit by one of them, yeah, you were in bad shape. It'll be the same thing here. And don't forget, of course, you have magic, where in the real world you just kind of had, oh shoot, I got to get out of the way.
Shadenwolf wants to know if you can use explosives placed by keep walls to breach them.
Funny you should say that. Yeah, the light went off. I think somebody just planted a bomb by our tree. So part of the fun with this picture, and like I said, wrong word, picture, will be planting some Easter eggs in there. So I wouldn't say it's where's Waldo, because that's giving it far too much credit. But part of what we're going to be putting out for you folks, just to have a little fun, is for you to look at the things, try to find everything that's there, and speculate. Everything will be there for a reason. But yes, being able to take out walls, or take out doors, or be able to take out defenses through the use of magical explosives, of course. Sapping, the digging under bit, no, we're not doing that. Certainly not now. But there needs to be, or therefore, there should be another way as well. And again, play counterplay. Should you be able to drop a bomb, or essentially plant a bomb, and do damage? Absolutely. But you need to have defenses against that. So that's where, things like burning oil, that kind of fun stuff, tar, and other things come in. McDonald's hot coffee back in the old days.
Mr. Bill to You asks, will crafters be able to build earthen ramps over walls?
I would assume so. And the reason why I say assume so, it isn't something that we've talked about, but given our building system, it does make sense.
Winter King asks if there will be horse-drawn wagons to carry a lot of siege weapons.
I shouldn't even bother putting out my scribblings, because you guys are nailing so far everything that's in there. Luckily, there's a few more things. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we have caravans, right? We've been talking about caravans from the beginning. So once we have the tech to do a caravan, then, wow, gee, we should use that tech just, again, like they did in the real world. So you can have at least semi-mobile some of these devices. You're not going to be moving around the big trebs, at light speed, but you can certainly, move them into position and, move them a bit out of the way as well.
Aghar30 says, right now when a castle is attacked, the blocks just delete if they have no support. Will they eventually be able to collapse and cause damage?
Yep, that is absolutely where we want to be.
Davalis, will using siege be force multipliers or just utility options?
Explain that in more detail.
Okay, give us more detail on that one. Vesir, interesting. If Veilstorms do damage to buildings, what's to stop attackers from intentionally using a Veilstorm to wreck someone's stuff if they can't get in?
Well, that's if you could predict that the Veilstorm isn't going to wipe you out. Vesir, of course, the best laid plans of, Mice and Tuatha. I mean, you could be trying to summon a Veilstorm. You could be trying to trigger it, And that's the beauty of those things. They're not predictable. So maybe you thought that, yeah, that would actually do damage to the keep. And the next thing that you guys know, you're all covered with some very icky, sticky stuff from the Veilstorm, and it's moving. So, yeah, I don't think that's going to be an effective strategy.
Zatchel, morbid but historical, wants to know, say you were killing cows for leather, will you be able to collect the corpses, let them rot for a few days, and use them as siege ammo?
Yeah, obviously you know the history. Either you know the history of sieges or you've watched Monty Python a few too many times. Would I like to do that? Yeah, because it's just biological warfare, which is obviously those who know about siegecraft then know that that was a big deal. Is it something that's possible? Yeah, I think it's something that's possible, but it's not something that's on my list, to be honest with you.
Chris Falnor asks, will crafters or another class, maybe scouts, be able to act as sort of sappers, weakening walls and defensive actively during the siege, or will it be mostly focused on operating siege engines?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the crafters can absolutely get involved in the same way. We've said from the beginning that all of our classes, whether they are pure crafters, or the non-crafters, combatants, they have the same survivability in terms of health, right? There's more, you get stronger the more you do things, so the crafters eventually won't be the same. But the crafters' abilities to survive in combat isn't because they only have one hit point and, combatants have 1,000. It doesn't work that way. So can a crafter plant bombs or plant traps or mines or things like that, or do some magical things to weaken walls? Absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty of our crafter class, right? We're not forcing anyone into PvP. We've said that right from the beginning. If you want to be a crafter, you don't have to. You won't be punished by the king for not being involved in that way. However, we should be able to do some interesting things with that class. So for those who want to get involved, absolutely, you can get involved.
Zadred asks, will Siege have a time limit on it before it gets destroyed by the game server, or will they stay forever or until destroyed by enemy realms?
Will Siege engines?
It doesn't say engines, but he must mean engines.
Siege engines are like everything else in the game. These are real creations. These are real deployables that you craft and you put together. So, if you leave it there, eventually someone will take it or destroy it or salvage it. These aren't magical catapults in the box that, hey, you just open your bag and out comes the catapult and then it goes away. This is something you're going to have to craft, or your crafters are going to have to craft. And you're going to have to haul it, to battle. And that's why, caravans, or that's why having giants. That's why, we also have different sizes. It's all, again, it's all meant to be a little more difficult than simply, again, running to the castle, pushing a magic button, and all of a sudden, you've got 30 siege engines surrounding the keep. It's not going to work that way. It can't. It's not fun.
Victor TCO would like to know if you can real-time repair damage to keeps and such.
Absolutely. Now, let's keep in mind that while you do that, you can be killed. You can have stuff fall on top of you. The repair rate will not be the same as it would be, when you're out of combat. Certainly that's one of the things that we'll be tweaking, but don't expect you can, let's say that we have building speed, which is, let's say it was 30 seconds per block, and don't take any notice of the number. It's just 30 seconds is a nice round number. Maybe when you're out of combat, just to make it easier for everybody, and that keep hasn't been in combat for a certain period of time, your building rate would be that 30 seconds. And maybe your repair rate might be a little bit even faster. While you're in combat, your rate gets very, very slow, plus there's the whole you can die. So we see that changing based on what's going on in the world.
You guys always ask this, and I never get tired of hearing the answer. Will we be able to lob the dwarfed races and larger size races with catapults and such over walls? Also, will we be able to launch magical bombs such as rock enchanted to burst into a fiery explosion?
Yes. And once again, you named something else in the picture. This is getting to be no fun, folks. Well, these are great questions. You're nailing everything. So far, yeah, I think I'm down to two things that were in the picture. Three things that were in the picture that you guys already haven't asked about. Fortunately, there's a few more I haven't put in yet. But, yeah, nice going, folks.
Fornu says, it seems like a lot of this talk is about turtling inside a keep. The idea of keeping shields up and so on really doesn't sound engaging. In every siege, can you say whether there will be an absolute requirement for players to fight one another rather than players versus siege?
Well, it depends on what you want to do, right? If you want to turtle because you're outnumbered, well, yeah, turtling is fine. It should be fine. That's the whole point. If you're waiting for reinforcements, you should be able to try to reinforce your shields. Now, the downside again to that is when you do that, you're using power. You're using your own magic, or you're using your own projectiles magic to help reinforce the shields. So there's a price to be paid. And you can't keep doing that forever, because you're right, that would be boring as heck. But that is an option. Just like it will be an option for the players on the other side not to decide, oh, we're just going to engage right away by trying to run up and find the weak spots or throwing ladders up. They may try to open multiple fronts. They may try to, because obviously we all know that was a tactic, still is a tactic in war, to try to spread out, the defensive forces, so they can't all focus on where you guys are, going to try to breach. So I think it works both ways. Sieges can't end too quickly. We all know that, okay? If you've played Dark Age of Camelot, you played any game that has RVR in it, where keep sieging happens. If you can siege a keep, if you can get to and siege a keep in 5 and 10 minutes, there's no game there. That's a MOBA. That's not an MMORPG. And certainly not the game we've been talking about from day one. Now, is a keep siege supposed to last 3 weeks? No, obviously that would be horrible. And there's a nice happy medium. And the happy medium really does revolve around what's going to work best for the vast majority of our backers. Sure, there will be some backers who might say, well, I want to be able to, again, get up at 4 a.m. and run to this keep, and because nobody's there, I should be able to take it. Not going down that path. Will you be able to get up early and have an advantage at sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. But it's not going to be automatic. It can't be automatic, because at the end of the day, the difference between this game and, say, Dark Age is that these are, more often than not, you're defending your own house. You're defending your guild's home. You're defending your castle, your own keep. These are not just some, keeps that were put there by us as the developers. Though there are places like that too, obviously, the places of power. So, we want to make sure that for the folks who have built these great constructions like Necro, or you even maybe haven't built even as great of construction, but it means something to you because you spent a lot of time building it, that, you can't be gone for a few hours and then all of a sudden, bam, 2 guys came in, threw up some siege ladders, got over, the walls, and took all your stuff, and you even lost your castle. That would be horrible. That's part of what we're going to be doing all throughout beta, is figuring out how to make this work for all of our backers, for everyone who wants to play this game and wants to put time into their buildings. Because again, you don't have to. You can play this game without having to have your own house. You don't have to. You'll have the option, but you don't have to. So for those who don't want to build or don't want to have to worry about protecting it, great. Don't. No need to. But for those who do, and for those who want to raid that place and take their stuff, yeah, you're going to have to siege it and siege it properly.
Rasmus Philander asks, will the realms get their own skins for the siege weapons?
Absolutely, and more than just skins. We really want to have different siege weapons for each realm. Will that be for Beta 1? Obviously not. Will it be after? Absolutely. There should be some differences. If we're saying no mirrored classes, then there should be no mirrored, well, there shouldn't be many mirrored siege engines. Could there be some that are semi-mirrored? Sure. Ladders. You know, we're not going to spend a ton of resources to make slightly different ladders. Now, can we make slightly different ladders that just look different by skinning? Absolutely. On the other hand, when it comes to something like Trebs or any of the other, you know, kinds of engines, we do want to invest a little bit more time into making them more feel like they are part of the realm. Make it more immersive. Pick the right names. Even sometimes if we can tie it to historical names. So it really does feel like, yeah, when you're an Arthurian, you're using things that feel Arthurian. When you're a Viking, you're using something that feels more Viking.
Krakatoa Crazy Crafter wants to know about dogs, etc., as guards for keep. They would be able to find stealthers and then, when killed, drop hides, etc., for crafting.
I love that. You know, it's not something that I've spent any time on, but being able to, you know, use certain animals, sure. Absolutely.
Dython the Grey, will we have the movable wooden towers that roll up to the enemy wall filled with soldiers that jump on the wall?
That's part of the design.
Okay. Couple of repeats. Rhaegar wants to know, can we use recycled arrows fired at us in the middle of a siege?
That's also something that you can essentially do today.
Tildor TV says, what is the design goal when it comes to the balance between objective hugging and just raw brawling? Interesting.
Well, so if by objective hugging you mean just hitting the places of power versus, hey, I just want to go out in open world combat, I think some of it will depend on timing. For example, let's say your realm has just lost a place of power or hasn't been able to take a certain place of power for days. Then the ability of your side to go get that place of power will get you more rewards from your king. Same if you have to defend something. One of the things we've talked about, and this goes back also to the Kickstarter, is that we have to make defending your whatevers, right, your keeps, your places of power, important. Because we all know, those of us, which is most of us I assume, who've played these sorts of games, you're not rewarded for being a defender the way you should. It's not easy. Obviously, it's easy to exploit, you know, especially in certain games. So we have to get that right, so that objective hugging, if that's what you mean, whether it's in the defensive mode or more offensive where you're going and hitting the places of power, will be at times very rewarding. However, it can't be too rewarding to the point where open warfare isn't worth it. Because if that's the case, obviously a lot of you backers won't be as happy, and a lot of our players won't be as happy, because there's a lot of you who don't want to go after objectives. You don't want to feel like, hey, you're forcing us to do dailies, MJ. We just want to go out into the woods and find people to gank, or to fight, or to furball with. And that's what we want to do. We want to find that balance.
Double Tease wants to know, is the decay of siege engines done slowly over time, or is it based on use?
Oh, both, of course. I mean, if a siege engine is treated as any other combatant, just like our doors, then as it's taking damage, it's going to decay. You know, its own health, just like your health, goes down. Same with use. Can you overload one of these things? Can you use it too often? Can you strain it? Absolutely.
Lexus asks, will the different materials the walls are made out of affect how well it can take a siege? I.e., 15th to 17th century walls were brick stone, then compacted dirt, then a back wall of brick stone again to slow the destruction.
Absolutely. And that's, one of the things that will happen, obviously, in a game where crafting is important as this one is that there'll be an escalation. Just as Augustus Caesar changed, brick to marble when he was the, emperor. He ruled Rome. You're going to be doing the same thing. You won't start with the best materials. You can't. You're not wealthy enough. You don't have access. Your crafters don't have access yet to some of those abilities. So we do expect that over time, what you're using is going to get, stronger and stronger, and have magical enchantments on it as well. Well, then it escalates on the other side. So now your crafters are more powerful. You're going to have more powerful siege equipment.
Animus says, in past MMOs with siege-type gameplay, one of the problems which always develops are large zergs and groups sitting in a tower castle for hours on end defending. Will there be any starve mechanics to starve them out or diminish their resources, which affects the strength to defend after a period of time?
Well, since food isn't, a part of this game, at least certainly not yet, and frankly by not yet I mean it isn't something that we're even considering, then obviously then there needs to be something else so that you can't just sit there and constantly refresh your health and keep the shields up. So yes, there will be mechanics in place so you can't just do that, because that, again, that's as boring as any other kind of failed siege engine or failed siege craft. If the defenders simply have to sit there and do the equivalent of the rotation, that's no fun. That's not fun for the attackers. It feels kind of lame, and it's certainly no fun for it might be fun for the defenders, but no, you won't be able to just sit there and constantly, regen your own health and keep repowering or keeping the power up on the spells.
Shadenwolf asks, will altitude affect siege range?
I'd love to say yes, but I don't think Rob has modeled that yet. If by altitude you actually mean that as the level of the terrain goes up, that lighter air affects the flight of the bolt or the ammo versus just as an object goes higher and higher, that its flight, changes. Because we certainly are not doing the first, at least not yet.
Isanaries says, how are you planning to alert players if their buildings are under attack? Or is it going to be reliant on scouting?
So I'm laughing because Ben and I had a long discussion about this today. Boy, this is one of those really...
This is bizarre.
Yeah, no. This isn't one of it's really funny. These guys, it's like the cameras were on or the video or the mic was on all day because you guys just keep hitting on everything that we've talked about. So that's one of those real, boy, we want to talk to the player things. Obviously, being able to alert you when your home is being attacked is a relatively easy thing to do. You can do it right through our chat system. The question that you guys are going to have to ask yourselves, and we're going to talk to you backers and get feedback on it, is do you want that? Because the short answer is, of course I want it, because I want to know that my home is being attacked. On the other hand, that time that you guys organized this heck of a raid, and you just timed it beautifully. You had been scouting this guy, and you've seen that his castle isn't defended during certain hours, and so you time your raid that way, and it goes off beautifully. But a message is sent to him, and he gets his buddies on, and they quickly come to the defense because maybe they were sitting, in the castle anyway. So that's the sort of thing we want to get a lot of feedback from you folks on. I mean, it's not something I have really strong convictions on, other than the whole, and this is what I used as an example from Ben, is that if we do it via email and then the email doesn't get there, then we're going to get a lot of angry messages from people going, hey, I just lost what I spent a year on because your email system didn't email me. And I say, of course it did. And you say, no, it didn't. And you won't look in the spam folder because that's where it probably ended up. So, yeah, this is one of those absolute Pandora's boxes that we have to talk to you and want to talk to you folks about and get feedback.
Dickabub asks, can we expect some defensive siege like palisades to protect from arrows?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Part of what I'm going for, and hopefully we'll be able to pull this off, again, is, if you think of building your castle and building its defenses is more than just putting up walls, right? It's about the choices you make. It's about how you arrange things. It's about where you put some of your, stronger defenses. Where do you put shield generators? Where do you put other systems to defend, to defend your castle? How you've laid things out. That's what we're going for. And if we can do that, and, you folks can have fun, changing things around. It could be an awful lot of, entertaining videos. One of the examples I use with Ben is Clash of Clans and games like it, all the knockoffs of that game. And I know when I played it, some of the fun I had in those types of games was watching when people wiped against my defenses. If we can do that here, just like with the depths, then you folks are going to, have a really good time with that. Because after all, if you build this great, keep, and you've laid it out really cleverly, and you've used your brick count properly, and you've put in, the right combination of defenses, and you've, tried arranging some things in a slightly different way, and you see people wipe against your defenses, you're going to love it. You're going to wake up, see the video, and go, yes, that was awesome. That would make me very happy if we can pull that off. Because I know I would love it. I love watching people wipe, like I said, when I played some of those games, and I expect that most of you probably feel the exact same way.
Aldovik says, are there any plans to allow players to take control of keep guards in the same way that they can take over depth NPCs, so a few players could defend many keeps?
Yeah, we've talked about something like that. We'll see where that goes. Certainly that doesn't break the no PvE leveling, just as it doesn't in the depths, because if a player is controlling an NPC, you are actually playing another player. So I'd be perfectly fine with that.
Ghostblowed wants to know, will PvP only be in large scale, or will I be able to play solo PvP?
Absolutely. We've talked about that right from the beginning. I generally am a solo player. I'm not big on the grouping thing most days. So, I want to have some classes, especially some classes, that you can solo. I want gameplay so that you can solo and level or progress. And that's, again, one of the beauties of our progression system. Because it's not standard, because it just doesn't rely, like most games do, on how many things you killed. Because it's well beyond that in terms of what it's evaluating to determine what you should get in terms of your progression rewards, it makes soloing, even on days where you couldn't find the right people to kill or enough people to kill, it still makes it not feel like a wasted day. And that's what we want to avoid. Playing these games, especially now as a lot of us who played Dark Age and other MMOs from the first generation of MMOs, we're older now. I hear this on the forums from you folks, guys who are not old, but just older, or not in college anymore, or not in high school anymore, or in some cases, grade school. And so timing is different. So, I want to make sure that the solo players, if they can't find something, to kill, or the right somethings to kill. That they don't feel like, oh God, it's just another wasted night. Why should I log back in? And the same, of course, applies to groups too. If you can't find people because they're running away every time they see your awesomeness, then, if you can't find anyone and you don't get anything done, your guild's going to start to be, or group, is going to start to be less happy with the whole situation. So we want to avoid that. So the too long didn't read version or too long didn't listen version is yes.
Helwer wants to know, do you envision walled cities that can functionally replace the starting capital, or are we just talking keeps? Trying to get a picture of player building and sieges in CU.
I would love that. Okay? I would absolutely love that. In a perfect world, it doesn't replace the safe city because it can't. And the reason why it can't is because the safe city always has to be there just in case one day those other two realms decide that, they're going to team up and trash your big city. So I wouldn't want to think of it in terms of replacement. But in a perfect world, could you build a really big city or a really big town, certainly, on your captured land? I'd love that. Absolutely would love that.
Wayward68 asks, how many alts can you park in the game world at one time for sieges?
Oh, we haven't even discussed that yet. Great question. Way too soon.
Okay. Nanaluk wants to know, will there be harvestable materials throughout the world so siege engines can be built on site from local resources?
Yeah, because that's how, as you know, since you're asking that question, I assume, because that's how a lot of things happened in the real world. That the Romans or other race or other, boy, sorry, I'm starting to get sleepy, or other armies would only take metal, and they would get the wood from the forests, right? Because if you take the metal pieces, all you need is wood, and wood, all you needed was trees. So yes, I would love to be able to do that. And of course, that's a way to help slow down the defenders, slow down the attackers as well, if they can't get the pieces they need to assemble their siege engines. So, great question.
Chris Fellner wants to know, will the siege engine's range be mostly a variation in range and operational mechanics, or will there be a difference of purpose in siege engines, i.e. ballista that does more damage than others, trebuchets do more damage to walls, etc.?
Absolutely. Already part of the design. It has to work that way. Just like, as well, you can, when we get to that stage, you can design not only your siege equipment to go against anti-walls, anti-personnel, etc., but also certain types of walls. Remember the air system, folks. The same thing applies to blocks. Certain things should be able to do more damage to other things. Whole point of magic, whole point of air.
Sacrex wants to know, how are you envisioning capture mechanics on buildings? Knocking it down and razing, or possibly fully claiming enemy keeps and then their blueprints gone forever?
So, certainly not raising. Raising is going to take time. It's the same principle as, if you look at it from the other side. You don't want to be able to build a building, well, you might want to, but we can't have a game where you're building a building like you're building in Cube. That would make no sense. It would destroy so many systems of the game. So raising has to work the same way. Can you raise a castle after you conquer it in 5 minutes? No, of course not. That would be dumb. That would be a huge mistake on our part. So can you capture it without raising it? Absolutely. Absolutely. You should not. We've said also since the Kickstarter, that option should be yours as a player. Might you want to take some of the materials from that castle? Absolutely. Might you want to raise certain types of places? Absolutely. But it shouldn't be instantaneous. It can't be. It shouldn't necessarily take the same time, obviously, as building, because building is very dependent on stability. well, I should say building isn't, well, it is and it isn't at the same time, sorry. When you're building something, obviously you're putting blocks down, but the difference, it doesn't take longer to put one block than another. When it comes to taking down buildings, as Rob has shown already with his code, if you take down the right blocks, you can cause the entire structure to collapse. And that's part of what could and will work in this game, once we go live. That if you really wanted to raise it, yep, you find the weak points and you start, beating on them. Even then, it's not instant, but it will be faster than certainly building it would be.
Celis says, how will an enemy realm take control of a player-built keep, like you were talking about? Will there be keep lords, like in Dark Age?
Well, there'll certainly be all sorts of systems that you'll have to overcome. I mean, first of the basic defensive systems. You can't just, walk in, knock on the door, nobody answers, step in and go, honey, I'm home. Even if you can do a great Jack Nicholson voice. So you have to get through the defenses. Will there be NPC guards? Absolutely. Keep lords in the Dark Age and other game sense? No, not in that sense. But will you be able to hire NPCs to protect your whatevers? Not just castles? Yes, absolutely. Once you get through those defenses, will you have to just like stand in the middle and break out the campfire and the marshmallows? No, there'll be other things that you'll have to do. Things like stabilizers, of course, will come into play. Once you've done that, can you then put down your own stabilizer? Can you try to claim it for your own realm? Absolutely. That also takes time. Obviously in beta it doesn't, or won't take much because different game. But you will have to go through a series of steps. Each step will take time, but can you claim an enemy's keep? Absolutely. But keep in mind, the more powerful it is, the more, the better it is protected, the more that it's tied already to the lands of its realm, the harder it is. So for, just to give a good example, if you have two keeps, let's say one keep is deep within Viking territory and the other is right on the edge. If the one on the edge was just taken by the Vikings, it will flip back easier. I know that sounds like keep trading. It won't work that way. But it will be faster. The one deep within Viking territory is very tied to its realm. It's very well protected. That's going to take even longer to take because, frankly, what we don't want to have happen is that you guys just go, oh, we're just going to raid deep within Viking territory or any territory at night and claim some of the weak spots or the weaker spots there, and that sets off a terrible chain reaction within the Viking territory. That wouldn't be a lot of fun, and would also, well, actually, it might be fun for a few times, but it wouldn't be fun for the Vikings, and wouldn't be fun for the players who were, maybe just. Well, I think after a couple of times of doing it, it wouldn't be fun for them either. So, no, you won't be able to do it.
Okay, we're almost done here, so looking for some last good questions. Monkey Do, I'm going to ask this because a number of you always do. Are there going to be dragons?
Well, not dragons in the, ooh, look how I get to kill this big, horrible, nasty, dragon and take its loot. That's not the lore of this game. And frankly, the dragons in this game you wouldn't want to do that with. They make Smog look like a noob.
Alright, Grimrick82. Are pledge rewards such as home items able to be looted from homes, or are they count bound?
What kind of items?
Pledge rewards such as
Pledge
home
rewards.
items.
No, pledge rewards are safe. Anything that you get from us can't be stolen. That wouldn't be fair.
Okay, let's find a really good last question here. They keep wanting you to hug Cthulhu. They're very just insistent on it. Cthulhu has gotten...
Trouble is, if I hug Cthulhu right now, I might fall asleep.
He's kind of soft. Okay. Ben, no. No, Ben.
What did Ben say?
Will there be a female hairstyle that allows scaling castle walls by a female character lowering her hair down out of a window or a castle?
Where have I heard that one before? Actually, it was a really good movie. At least the not original Tale movie. The one with, was it Entangled? Was its name? I think it was Entangled.
Yes.
That was fun.
Okay, Sacrix, can you go into details about realm-specific benefits? For example, TDD using the powers of the forest to interweave true roots into the foundations of buildings, or Vikings having stronger stone. Will there be some material limitations some realms cannot get as much of or be rare depending on which realm you play?
So let me say from the bottom of my heart, I hate you right now.
Was that the last one you were holding back?
What kind of weird
Witchery!
Twilight Zone am I in right now? Because, yeah, that was... So, yeah, you'll see it in the picture. Yes, absolutely. You know, the whole point of this game is, again, non-mirrored classes, non-mirrored realms. We've been very clear. So whether you're a TDD attacking the Vikings or Arthurians attacking the Vikings, you're going to attack it in some cases with some siege equipment in different ways. And that's one of the things that, and I think I've talked about this before with the classes, that will help build some sense of immersion and attachment. That we want to give you some absolutely unique mechanics per realm for the siege equipment. Some of it is just going to be the same. It has to be. Again, ladder is a ladder. You climb up, you climb down, you fall down, you die. But other things can be more interesting. And middle of the picture, towards a little bit to the left, towards the bottom, yeah, you'll see an example of what TDDs could be doing. I hate you.
Okay, that's a bit after
Didn't
10.
think anyone would ask that.
We should end with you saying, I hate you.
So, really well done, folks. Yeah, I think of all the times we've done these Q&As, this one you guys nailed. I mean, you just nailed it. So, and it's not because I'm so sleepy. I am sleepy, but I'm not that sleepy. These were just really good questions. You guys are going to remember this chat, okay? Remember when you see the picture. Because you guys, well, the picture that Michelle or Sandra will end up doing, and my scribblings, because you're gonna laugh. You're really gonna laugh. You nailed. Oh, I still have. Well, I still have two more, but I still have one really good one that nobody's come close to, which makes me very happy. But everything else, you folks just nailed. So thank you for that. You took all the fun out of the release for me. I'm joking.
I want you to say, this is Mark, I hate you, signing off.
Yeah, that's right. But no, seriously, really well done. Very proud, you guys. The questions, so let me ask you a question in return. So based on the questions you've asked me and the manner that they've been asked, I think it's safe to say that you sound excited by my answers, at least most of them. Yes? No?
Okay, let's see when it catches up. Guys and your weird questions. So, are you yes? No? Yes? Oh, very much yes. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Okay.
Good, because, again, it's very important to me and to us that this siege system is not just wheel in the catapults, that's the game. Or wheel in the trebs, that's the game. I mean, that's for what we want to do with this game. And this is no insult intended to any other game. It really isn't. I mean, obviously, Dark Age, had limited, siege stuff too. We want to make it better. We want to make a better version. We want to make something more interesting than most of the other games. We want to use magic. We want to use, just some different approaches as well as the more standard ones, because we have that kind of a world. And when you can craft materials the way you can in All World, when you can engrave it with magic, when you can, like you can in All World, then we also need the offensive systems to take care of the defensive systems and make it more interesting. So if you like what you heard, you're going to love the presentation when we do it. Obviously, we're not doing it now. This is just, the first, really my first pass at the vision at the overall vision for it, for discussion. And, we'll be talking a lot more, during beta with you folks, to get even more ideas. I mean, frankly, if you folks have some, as always, I expect you to share them. Because frankly, if it makes it better, makes our game better, well, we're just happier. And so you've done that before. Been some good ideas that have come out of the forums, and I'd be thrilled to hear more of your folks' ideas after you see what we've got cooked up. So I think that's it for today. We are doing the test of me again tomorrow, so I have to get home and hopefully get some sleep, or you guys are going to get to make me embarrass myself twice, on stream tomorrow.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Yeah, I'm sure Socrates would say that. Especially, you've looked at the time, so our European players who might, hopefully you're all in bed and you're not listening to this on Twitch. But if you are, the time we picked for tomorrow's escapades is obviously geared to you folks, because the first one was at a not great time. So now we have what should be a very good time for you all to join us and try to, stump me. And we'll see what happens. You guys picked a really...
They're here, 4 a.m., 3 a.m., they're here.
Oh, guys, go to bed. But you picked a really good story last time, and that led me down a great path. I love it. I would not, in all honesty, as always, I would not have even thought of using the ring to generate a race. I just wouldn't have. It had never occurred to me to do that. All sorts of other things occurred to me, and will continue to occur with races and classes. But that's a good one. That was really, really clever choice. So we'll see if you guys can outdo yourselves tomorrow and stump me. I know a bunch of folks here are going to be rooting for me to fail, because that's just funny. So let's see if you can do something good for the team here and help boost their morale some more by watching me embarrass myself.
Dancing.
Exactly. And as I said in the stream the last time, you can thank the TV show Elementary for this idea, because that's where I got it from. As Holmes has to ask his hacker friends for help, he has to do something embarrassing for them. Well, here's your chance. So again, it is now it's well after 10. I want to say good night, and as always, to thank you for your support. Again, things are going great. Stuff is going in. Code is being written. Stuff is being designed. Programmers are being interviewed. You've noticed a new face in the studio. So that is a person who has been with us for much longer than she has been here. She has just joined us this week. We haven't introduced her formally yet, have we?
No, we haven't.
So we'll be introducing her like we do all of our team members in a little bit. Make sure she doesn't run away after going, oh my God, what did I get myself into? But she's great. She's talented. We're thrilled to have her here. And, she's an addition to the team. We didn't lose anybody and then add her. She's been with us for a bit, but now she's actually in Virginia. So that's great. So, we'll be talking more about her, but you've already seen her work. So you could probably put 2 and 2 together. Anything else I want to say before? Don't think so.
If you guys have any piercing the veil questions, we could still use some in the thread in the announcements section for Mark to do, so I can read them on Friday. Other than that, I think we're good.
Cool. All right, then, especially you European and other countries, folks who stayed up so early in the morning or late, depending on how you want to look at things, to hear this. Thank you so very much. I hope the Siege talk was a nice surprise. I wanted to surprise you with it, or it was certainly something today, and I hope this turned out to be a good surprise. You know, yeah, that's it. So, thanks for the support. And again, sorry that I am tired's the right word. I'm going to go home now, see Lady J, and go to bed. But again, I will see you tomorrow, and thanks for your support.